dollars every year when we're applying that to the county tax rate. If you're income, you can get a 100% tax exemption. So essentially, whatever the floating homestead does wouldn't impact your full exemption. And disabled veterans get a floating exemption all year. And again, this decision on this floating homestead would not impact what you receive as a disabled veteran. So approximately 31,000 homes in Richmond County have a homestead exemption. That's about 38% of all property owners and really about half of all homeowners in the county. Again, you can visit the tax commissioner or visit their website to see if you've got the homestead exemption you best qualify for. All the information on all the homesteads is in their office. So the floating homestead exemption works by increasing the value of that homestead exemption to offset inflation based on a prior year's consumer price index. Essentially, the taxable value of that homestead may only increase by this rate of inflation that's determined by the Department of Revenue. This exemption is in addition to and not in lieu of your existing homestead exemption. So I want to reemphasize that it will not repeal or replace what you already have. It will just be added to it. These values are always based on a base year value, and that appreciation is tracked over time, but it can be reset if the home is sold or if you do significant improvements to your property. They cannot be transferred to another property, but a surviving spouse can continue to receive the benefit if it's in place. And so we've got an example here of how it works mathematically, how it looks based on value. We're looking at a house that in a base year, and that's what we'd always have to determine with. In this case, the base year value is $100,000. There's an inflationary increase of 10% to $110,000, but the prior year index was 4%. So we'd only be able to tax the property up to that 4% inflationary increase. Essentially, the exemption is going to float of the overall value, so that portion of because of this floating homestead. All right, so again, the exemption would float beyond whatever the CPI is, so that if your property appreciates more than the annual index, the value beyond that would be exempted, and then your existing exemption would be added on. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about are maybe not specifically impacting you, but they impacted the county, the governing authority, and there's all kinds of questions that are asked when looking at this type of homestead. So one is, how does this affect our annual tax digest? Our digest is used every year to determine the value of all properties in the county as a whole, and based on that value, what would the rate be that the county commission needs to levy to collect taxes for their annual budget. In the case of a floating homestead exemption, the exemptions are of course going to increase. The net digest amount, that total value of all properties, will go down. And the rollback rate, that's the millage rate that's used by the county to levy tax, would see upward pressure. It'd go up a little bit to offset that total exemption amount. If this had begun in 2024, about 9,000 homes in the county would have benefited from this type of exemption. Over time, that number would probably increase, where more homeowners would definitely benefit, but it's not a guarantee because it's tied to that consumer price index. Your property has to appreciate more than what that index is. And the net digest as a whole would see little to no impact. And the reason that is because we would offset the exemptions with a slightly higher millage rate and shift that tax burden to other property owners. I'm sorry, I didn't change the slide when I talked about the last one. But we'll jump to the next one. Again, taxes don't disappear, they just shift. And so in this example, it shows two properties that are of equal value from the base year, $200,000. And over time, you can see that the taxes they pay start to get further apart. This disproportionate tax obligation is a known result of the floating homestead and could be even more significant among properties that have differing starting years for the exemption. And so Tim's going to jump in and share an example of two homesteaded properties with a base year that's 10 years apart.
Thank you, Scott. I am Tim Schreier. I'm the interim finance director. And as Scott said, I'm going to share with you what happens 10 years from today. You can see House A was bought, or has the base year of 2025, this year. Their purchase price was $250,000. The assessed value is 40% of your purchase price, which would be $100,000 in this year. Fast forward 10 years from now, with the floating homestead exemption, their assessed value is only $134,000. But say your neighbor across the street bought a house, paid $500,000. Same value, same assessed value, not taxable, but assessed value as your house that you bought 10 years ago. You look at the schedule, their assessed value is $200,000. $70,000 more than your house. The taxes that are going to be different, your neighbor is going to pay almost $1,300, or you're paying $869. So that's going to what's happening. It doesn't eliminate the taxes. Again, as Scott said, it just shifts the taxes to somebody else. The decisions that the commissioners are going to have to make coming up is by March 1st, the decision has to be made of do we opt in, do we opt out? We're already in. State law says we're in. The decision has to be made, do we opt out? If we remain in, the next decision is going to be, do we implement a FLOST, another sales tax? If there was a new sales tax, this is a limited sales tax for the use. It has to be used to reduce the property tax burden, for property tax relief only. It can be levied starting at 0.05 up to 1%. With Augusta, because of our CSPOS, we're limited to 0.5%. Tax must be approved by the local referendum. So you're going to have a chance to vote on this one more time. And it has to be approved, reapproved every 5 years. And this is just an example of how we're not really shifting, we're not making any more money, we're just kind of shifting how the funds are collected. In 2024, your taxes, 50% homestead or ad valorem taxes, 50% sales tax. If we go with a FLOST, your sales tax is going to make up 70% of the taxable income. Now, as a financial professional, I get a little concerned about that, getting too many eggs in one basket. You have a couple bad years of sales tax, and all of a sudden, we're going to have to be raising property taxes. But that's my concern. Some of the other impacts and concerns that, that need to be looked at. New homestead will benefit homeowners, especially those who reside in their homes for long periods of time. Existing homes will be added to the homestead. Exemptions would create upward pressure. Scott said, we're just shifting the tax. We still need X amount of dollars to operate the county. So if your exemption goes up, somebody else's exemption didn't, but the overall millage rate may have to go up. It does allow for a FLOST, which may help. One of the other issues with this, there is no future method to opt out. So this is a one-time shot. For opting out of the new homestead, sorry. If we opt out, we can't do a floss, or a floss. That's gone. And once again, this is a one-time shot. As of current legislation, if you opt out, you're out forever. If you opt in, you're in forever. And at that point, I think we're going to open it up for comments.
Is there anyone that has any comments? Yes. We'll put this on the website. If you have any comments, we'll have the mic so you can kind of stand out in the middle to have some. Uh-oh, you don't need the mic. So as part of the law that was initiated, you couldn't start doing anything until January. Right. And we had to have everything by March.
But I'm saying there was never a time where anybody was going to give information out saying this was a possibility, that this was going to be coming on our horizon. I remember seeing that, we were voting for it. I'm just saying we're now February 4th, and we got to decide in under 30 days.
Yes. Unfortunately, the governing body has to decide if they want to proceed in this manner. The voters, you have already decided. You voted. So you guys have made your determination regarding House Bill 581. Now the governing body has to get some feedback from you to see how they would. And it has been a presentation made to the governing body prior to the hearings.
But not to the president.
There has not been any public hearings. We are only required to do 3 public hearings. And, as you'll probably see, most agencies or counties are going through their public hearings around the same time.
Why didn't we have the public hearings before we voted on it so we'll know what we was voting on?
You know what? That's a very valid question. I wish that was done probably before it was put on the ballot, but that's not anything to do with the local government body.
But I think it does, because you can have 100 meetings. It will amount to nothing. Talking to us will amount to nothing. You guys, you're going to make the determination. We ain't going to change your mind. We can't change your mind. There's no way that we can change the mayor's mind if his mind is made up on we're going to opt out or we're going to opt in. So why have the hearing? We should have had this before we voted. Instead of having that 68% voting yes, maybe you would have 68% voting no.
So I talk loud. I want to make sure that everybody hears the reason we're here today. This governing body did not make a decision or have anything to do with House Bill 581, in which we're addressing. That was done by the Georgia General Assembly. It has always been our mission at the Augusta Richmond County Commission to keep taxes as low as we possibly can. I believe that. House Bill 581 gives us an opportunity to do that by freezing some valuations that protects the homesteaded properties in Augusta, Richmond County. However, if you look at what you voted on November 5th, it was clear. If you had read all the way to the bottom, that bill clearly said that you also have the opportunity to opt out. There's 159 counties in Georgia and 538 cities that are having these conversations around the state. So all of us are trying to figure out which solution is best for our county. So we didn't make a determination as to when we could have the hearings, when we had to make a decision. That was done at the Georgia General Assembly. So we're here today to try to best educate our constituents and also hear from you as to what decision we should make. And I haven't made up my mind on what way I'm going to vote. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what's in the best interest of the constituents and residents of Augusta, Richmond County. That's what's important to me.
Well, you said that we had the opportunity to opt out. It was clearly in there. It might have been in there, but it wasn't all that clear. I can tell you that.
I agree with you, and I'll pull it up and I'm gonna read it. You know, the former mayor, Bob Young, and I have had a conversation about it. He calls it word salad, and that it was not very clear as to what we could do. So let me just read what the resolution said, that 68% of Richmond County residents voted on. 68% says that House Resolution number 1022, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended as to authorize the Georgia General Assembly to provide by general law for the state homestead exemption that serves to limit increases in the assessed value of homesteads, but which any county, consolidated government, municipality, or local school board may opt out upon the completion of certain procedures. This is those certain procedures that we're going through. I see you laughing. You didn't read that when you voted on it, did you?
No. I'm laughing because we're doing all of this for nothing.
It's
Nothing. I voted no. I don't mind if you, I voted no to this. I said, I voted no to it.
all right.
Okay? So that's my position.
Yes, sir.
What position did you vote for?
I'm gonna tell you, I voted yes. You know why? I voted yes because I like the idea of your tax dollars being saved and not used by this government. That's where we stood from the beginning.
It's floating, right? That's part of it, right?
That's a complicated.
You're gonna steal from people to pay
I voted yes. All right, come on with it. I want the tough questions. I don't mind. We're here to answer them. So this young man in the back has had his hand up a long time. Good. I need you to speak loud. I'm going to repeat your question.
You have to come over here.
We're going to him with a mic.
Okay, can I be heard?
Yep.
All right, so we understand that the tax bill is mainly comprised of the school system.
Yeah.
We understand that the tax bill is mainly comprised of the school system, the Board of Education. And it's my understanding that the district already announced that they plan to opt out of the homestead freeze already.
The school board has decided to opt out.
Right, so that has already been decided, which is the main portion of this this tax, housing bill that we're actually that we have voted on already. And so I guess my question is that if they've already opted out of it, why hasn't the same thing been afforded with them as well? And I know this is probably not the right form to put, but I'm just curious about that.
We also had 3 public hearings.
Okay.
They've conducted them already.
Okay.
They got an earlier start than we did.
Okay.
Okay?
And then too, talking about this.
Oh, we're going to come back to you. Let me get to some of these folks that, all right? I'm coming back to you, boss man. Yes, ma'am.
So if I understand this correctly, in the floating tax, it's going to be on consumer price index. Is that correct? So if we're now going into like a tariff war situation. So if it goes up, prices go up, tariffs go up, this tax is going to go up, what kind of situation would we be in as citizens? Because we're facing that right now with these trade agreements changing and things of that nature.
You know, that's some complicated math in that you're thinking about unknown variables. But the premise of this homestead exemption is to protect elderly people that have owned their home for a lot of years, to make sure that their valuations don't get to a point where they're not affordable. I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go to the, let's go here first. The gentleman that stands up, then I see you, sir. We're gonna come to you, okay?
Okay, now, you say you got a financial professional up here, and I'm pretty sure that she poses a really good question. But my question is, if we're opting out, why are we opting out? Not 62% have already decided that you as a governing body are going to follow the dictate of the voters. Again, why are we sitting? Because the preponderance of all of the property owners have voted and said yes. I read it, I understood it, and I'm saying that because now opting out is an option. The people that said yes are saying opting out is not an option. So again, what would change that for the city? Is there a financial burden on the city, or do you not know exactly how much money that the city is needing to spend in a fiscal year to know whether or not this is something that needs to take place? If so, please clear that up.
Well, I can give you some of the position of some of the organizations that are lobbying for us to opt out. One, most notably, is the Augusta Metro Chamber of Commerce. As the professionals have said, for those of you who are locked in to your taxes, there are others who aren't. So the tax is going to be passed on to someone else. In this case, it's passed on to the business owners, the commercial property owners. We're going to get to you. So that's the chamber's position. They say, you know what, we don't support it in that. We're afraid of how it affects businesses and our ability to attract small businesses and retain small businesses to Augusta, Richmond County. If we opt in and a neighboring county opts out, it could potentially cause us to lose business. Other businesses can say, you know, the taxes are just too high in Augusta, Richmond County. I'm gonna move my business to a neighboring county because they have better taxation. So that's the chamber's perspective.
Perhaps we would better understand what we're talking about, because again, all of that you're talking about wasn't put forth at the time that we were voting.
No, it was not.
So these are concerns that are valid now, but apparently weren't too valid before we started voting. And it was something that we should have been able to consider. So whoever your financial professionals are should have done a better job of considering these things that come with this voting on the homestead exemption. Me as a homeowner, I'm saying yes because yes, I want my tax dollars in my hands and not yours.
You're exactly right.
This is just that simple. And this is afforded to me to have, I want it. And the city needs to do its job. Professional that are being paid to do the numbers should do.
In that, if we opt in, we're given the opportunity of offsetting floating local option sales tax. 0.5 cent for the arena. The legislation says that you get to do it up to 1 penny, but we don't have a penny to do because a 0.5 penny is going to the Coliseum Authority. That offset still cannot be, as I understand, the millage rate or to cover our taxes as a result of the House Bill 581. So it's not a windfall. Still could potentially put a burden on commercially and property taxpayers. It is effective in that we're going to be paying that 0.5 penny for at least 20 years. 20 years. We have to pay that debt off with a 0.5 penny that's collected by sales tax for at least 20 years. Get it frozen.
Who are supposedly get know whether or not we can do this or not. If we can just go forward and let's say, yeah, we're in, because the rest of us who voted yes or no are going to get the benefit of the yes. That's what we want. We want the break. We want the discount or the exemption.
All right, so,
I mean, you can get up here and explain what it's all about.
so,
It doesn't mean big. We just want to know whether or not we're getting it because we voted for it. And you as our elected body are going to get it to us. And why would you not give it to us if we said yes? So,
yeah, keep in mind again, yes also says that you could opt out.
again, we understand what you said about opting out. But preponderance of the voters said yes, we want in. You are our representatives, should say yes.
Again, the legislation and the resolution said you could opt in or have the ability to opt out. Now, let me do one thing. Let me get someone up here to kind of walk through the.
Why would we not opt in if we wanted to opt in?
I assure you, and I'm going to have somebody come up just to walk through the numbers for a second to let you know what the consequences are. Once you opt in, there's no opportunity to opt out. The state has control, and you lose local control. You lose a lot of local control having the ability to put in place the policies that we're talking about. Now, I'm going to have either Tim to come up and tell you, opting in, what are the financial consequences that we will have in Augusta, Richmond County for those that don't have homesteaded exemptions, because there is a financial consequence to it. And then you still have to pass a special referendum, half a penny sales tax every 5 years. The consequences of not passing that will be crucial to the commercial property owners, because you don't get an opportunity to collect that half a penny and the millions of dollars that it generates.
Okay, so you're talking about, again, going to generating money that we don't know how it's going to be spent.
Just
Again, you're talking about future spending, and if we're going to talk about future spending, let's talk about future cuts.
I agree with you with the cuts.
Can you speculate on what cuts you're going to make if the numbers don't meet?
All right, so I'm gonna have Tim come up, but let me just tell you. So, our annual budget is about $1.4 billion, Madam Administrator. Of that, let me just tell you, the general fund, the dollars that are used to run the county is about 206 million or 209 million. 206, 206 million. That's all we have besides the enterprise fund. Of that 206 million, the sheriff's department gets 80 right off front for public safety. So a third of that has gone to the sheriff's department. So that leaves us roughly 140, $60 million to cut the grass, pick up the trash, to do all the things we need to do. So there's not a whole lot of money out there, I assure you, but there's opportunities for cuts. And we're working on those. So I'm gonna bring Tim up, and he's gonna talk about the math behind this, because it's a complicated set of financial wherewithal. But Tim, come up and explain to him the consequences, please.
Let me get to one of these slides. If you notice, the total revenue doesn't change. It's still about $100 million, $99.5 million. That's not going to change. That's what Augusta is going to collect. It's just who's going to pay for it. That's what the HB 581 does. It shifts who's paying for it. We know we need to collect to run the operations. For the tax revenues, we need about $100 million. HB 581 can say, you can either, if you opt in, you can do a sales tax, which will shift that from basically a 50-50 split to a 70-30 split. So again, the homeowners will have a reduced millage rate, but you're gonna pay more in sales tax. So again, it's more of a shifting who's paying reducing the amount that we're spending. Let me get to. And I understand this is complicated. Scott and I have worked on this for days. The digest, as Scott said, you have your gross digest. All we're doing is increasing the exemptions. So you may pick up an exemption, you may not. But we look at it overall. So if you have your gross digest less your exemptions times the current millage rate, you get $100 million. If your exemptions go up and your gross digest stays the same, your net digest goes down. So what you're going to be able to tax on is less. So to get that $100 million, you're going to have to raise your millage rate for everybody. Does that help at all, or? These are real numbers. I mean, we don't know. Again, our digest is assessed every year. It changes every year. But these are the numbers we used based on the 2024 digest. If HB 581 had been in place, our rollback rate would have been higher. So your millage rate was a little bit higher than if it wasn't in place.
Again, you can't project and see the digest next year.
No, it cannot.
So what you're doing is trying to, you're taking a step in you're going to reduce our taxes or not reduce our taxes.
So let me explain how a municipality grows and we're able to reduce taxes. It could be done one of two ways. We have neighbors to our west that are outpacing us by new residential properties. I was made aware that Richmond County somehow, some reason, lags behind building residential properties that are taxable. Some communities are making the decision to opt in, and I don't know many, but they're making a decision to opt in by saying that we have strong residential growth where we believe that there's going to be enough taxes to offset us having the ability to opt in. We're not there in Richmond County. We have a very strong commercial tax base to where our small businesses and commercial property owners will bear some of the financial responsibility in this. Okay? I'm gonna come back to it, but let me ask answer some more other questions.
Right here.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. I opted in yes. I am a homeowner as well.
Can't hear you. Speak up real loud. So you voted to opt. You voted yes or no?
I voted yes.
She voted yes.
I voted yes because, like I said, I'm a homeowner as well. My question to you, Mr. Mayor, is it possible to find areas to compensate for this exemption? Because that's my biggest thing. I mean, the gentleman over here, he had a good point. Like, we're all going to have to reevaluate how we spend things. I'm a new resident, so I can't speak on the James Brown Arena, but, you know, is that possible to be paused, or is there some other way to reorganize how we, you know, finance things so that way we can ensure that, you know, things are still being met, but it's not affecting our vote, like, or not affecting our vote, but affecting us in the way that we vote, I should say.
The only way that I see, as stated in House Bill 581, is if we opt in, we're going to have a referendum for a floss. So you, the voter, again, going to have to vote on another half a penny to be approved to offset the exemptions that we're granting to many of our homestead property owners.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and commissioners. So basically what you're saying is, for those of you who want to opt in, you are taking the benefit of saving on your taxes now. However, when you decide to sell your house, you're going to pay it then, or the new homeowner is going to pay it because it's shifting it to someone else. which means it's going to be a challenge in your transaction. Also, if we opt into this, that means that in order to have the extra benefit, we will continue to have to vote yes for that floss.
Every penny,
Right.
every 5 years.
So if the residents do not vote yes for that half a penny, your tax is going up anyway.
That's correct.
So that's why we're here to talk about, although you may have voted yes or you may have voted no, there is still an opportunity for a vote to go forth to opt in or opt out. So I think that's what many people are missing, the part, oh, I want to save my dollars right now. Yes, that is a good idea. But you may say, I'm never going to sell my house. But guess what? You may have to sell your house. Then you have to think about those who want to be investors and own multiple properties. You're sure going to eat that.
And keeping,
It is part of business, but we're talking about the residents in the exemptions. So we can be easy breezy now, but you're going to have to keep being at the ballot to say yes, yes, yes.
every 5
For
years.
the-
Plus,
Exactly.
keep in mind, let me remind you, come November, we have a special purpose local option sales tax. It's called SPLOS 9. So are you going to vote for a penny for SPLOS 9 to do some of the critical infrastructure repairs and needs that we get done, and then you're going to do another half a penny for this floating local option sales tax? I see you laughing. He's already saying there's too many pennies. It's important. We're going to get to you.
I have a question. You were saying about the millage rate, and the millage rate is set, if I understand it right, because like I said, Augustus, kind of new to me how y'all do stuff. Is that set by the school district, right?
Part of it, yes.
Okay, my question is, okay, we do this floss or we don't do it. How does that affect this money coming in on all the redistricting they want to do with the school districts? Will some of this money go to improving the buildings and hiring more teachers and putting more services into the Augusta Richmond County School District? How does that affect them?
So I've been told the floss, the floating local option sales